It was a chilly Monday morning in downtown Detroit, the kind of day where metal tools felt like ice and engines refused to cooperate. Inside Sanders Auto and Muscle, a gritty old-school garage known for fixing classic American cars, the mood was heavy. In the center of the shop sat a rusted 1968 Ford Mustang fastback, its iconic body now dulled by years of neglect. The crew had spent 3 straight days trying to bring its engine back to life. Mike Sanders, the 52-year-old garage owner and boss, had staked his reputation on this project. A local collector had offered big money if they could get it running. But despite their experience, nothing worked. The best mechanics had tried everything. New spark plugs, fresh oil, fuel system flush. Even rewiring the entire ignition. Nothing. The Mustang just wouldn't start. "You're all useless today," Mike growled, tossing a wrench onto the floor. 12 hours and you clowns can't get it to cough once?" The crew looked tired and defeated. No one dared talk back. That's when the garage door creaked open. In walked Skyler Brooks, a quiet 16-year-old girl with worn jeans, scuffed boots, and a backpack slung over her shoulder. Her dark hoodie was stained with old grease, and her hands looked like she'd been elbow-deep in an engine all morning. She didn't belong in this gritty world of grown men and loud machines, but somehow she fit in. Skyler wasn't a stranger here. She came by every afternoon to see her dad, James Brooks, the janitor. He was in his 50s, quiet, respectful, and had been sweeping floors in Sanders' garage for the last 5 years. Skyler usually stayed in the back, reading old manuals or sketching parts in her notebook. No one paid her much attention. Until today, Mike looked over as she stepped in. The timing couldn't have been worse. He was angry, embarrassed, and looking for someone to lash out at. "Well, look who it is," he smirked. "What's up, Skyler? Come to clean our tools too?" The crew chuckled nervously. Skyler didn't flinch. Her eyes locked onto the Mustang. She walked toward it slowly, ignoring the stares. "You guys can't get it started?" she asked softly. Mike raised an eyebrow. "Nope. Big boys couldn't figure it out. You want to try, genius?" he said sarcastically. "Be my guest. Let the janitor's kid show us how it's done." The crew went quiet. Everyone expected her to shrink back or walk away, but she didn't. Skyler stepped up to the hood, set her backpack down, and pulled out a small toolkit along with something unusual. A slim, custom-built diagnostic tablet with wires sticking out. It wasn't anything sold in stores. It looked handmade, advanced. She plugged it into the Mustang's battery terminals and watched the screen. Numbers flashed. She nodded to herself and then removed the ignition coil cover. "Loose ground," she muttered. "You got all that from a homemade tablet?" asked one of the younger techs, curious. Skyler didn't respond. She pulled a bypass wire from her bag, rewired the ignition relay, and then cleaned out the throttle body using a brush and a spray can from the shelf. Her hands moved with precision, fast but careful. The kind of skill that doesn't come from reading manuals. It comes from living inside machines. Mike scoffed. "Let's not waste any more time. You gonna call your magic wand to fix it next?" Skyler stepped back. "Turn the key," she said simply. Mike looked at her, annoyed, but something about her calm confidence made him hesitate. He looked at his crew. They shrugged. He sat in the driver's seat, inserted the key, turned it. Click, click, vroom. The Mustang roared to life. It wasn't just a start. It was a full-throated resurrection. The engine purred like it had never died. The low rumble shook the walls. The crew stared in silence, jaws dropped, eyes wide. Mike stumbled out of the car. "What? How the hell did you?" Skyler didn't answer. She wiped her hands, picked up her tools, and walked toward the back where her dad was quietly sweeping. No smile, no show-off, just pure calm. One of the mechanics finally said, "Did we just get schooled by a teenager?" Another whispered, "What even was that tablet? That wasn't OBD2. Mike walked into the back, voice raised. "Hey, wait a damn minute." Skyler turned around slowly. "What are you?" he asked, not angrily anymore, just stunned. Skyler paused. "You asked me to try, so I tried." Mike was still staring at her, like he was trying to solve a riddle. "Where'd you learn that stuff? That's not YouTube-level knowledge." At that moment, her dad looked up from his mop, his eyes meeting his daughter's. He smiled, proud but also knowing. "Maybe it's time they know," he said. Skyler gave a small nod and said nothing more. And as she disappeared into the back office, the entire crew stood in silence, staring at the Mustang's humming engine, still stunned, still trying to figure out what just happened. The Mustang's engine was still running, smooth, deep, and alive, as the crew stood frozen. They had all just witnessed something unbelievable. Not a seasoned mechanic, not a professional tuner, but a 16-year-old girl had brought the '68 Mustang back from the dead. Boss Mike Sanders rubbed his forehead in disbelief, then stormed toward the back room of the garage where the girl had disappeared. His pride was hurt, but there was something deeper: curiosity, confusion, and awe. "Hey!" he shouted, his voice echoing through the garage. "Hold up!" Skyler Brooks turned slowly. Her father, James, paused his sweeping. He knew this moment had been coming. Mike approached them, his voice slightly softer now. "Look, kid, I don't know what just happened out there, but you can't walk in here, pull some sci-fi move on an engine, and then vanish like Batman." The crew gathered behind him, still stunned. No one dared say anything. "Who are you?" Mike asked again, his tone no longer sarcastic. Now it was almost respectful. Skyler glanced at her dad, who gave a quiet nod. She sighed, stepped forward, and finally spoke with more than just a whisper. "My name's Skyler. I'm 16. I'm not a mechanic, not officially. I've never been to auto school, but I've been rebuilding engines since I was 9. The crew blinked. "My mom was a senior mechanical engineer at NASA," she continued. "She designed propulsion systems, jet engines, turbines, fuel optimization tech. She taught me everything until—" She paused, her voice briefly faltering. "Until she passed away 3 years ago." The silence grew heavier. After she died, I stopped talking, stopped going out. I stayed in the basement with her tools, her books, her work. I read every manual, watched every video, pulled apart every broken appliance in our house. Then I started sneaking into junkyards, pulling pieces from busted cars. I made my own scanner because the cheap ones don't work on vintage systems like that Mustang. She gestured toward the still-running car, the engine humming behind them like a witness to her truth. One of the mechanics whispered, "She built that diagnostic thing herself?" Skyler nodded. "It doesn't just scan codes, it reads voltage behavior, thermal stress, micro-fluctuations. The Mustang wasn't dead. It was misdiagnosed." Mike folded his arms. "So you're saying you fixed it because everyone else was too dumb to see the real problem?" Skyler raised her chin slightly. "No, I'm saying you didn't listen to the machine. I did." There was no arrogance in her tone, just clarity. Confidence earned through silence, solitude, and scars. James Brooks, standing nearby, finally spoke. His voice was calm but heavy with pride. "She didn't just learn this stuff. She lived it every night. I'd come home from cleaning this place and she'd be building custom sensors from scratch. While other kids were on TikTok, she was reverse engineering fuel injectors." Mike looked at the crew. They nodded slowly. They'd seen enough to know this wasn't some fluke. This girl wasn't just gifted. She was a different breed altogether. "I should have paid more attention," Mike muttered. "All this time your dad's been cleaning our floors and we had a damn genius under our noses." Skyler smiled, just a little. "I don't care about titles, I just care about machines, about fixing what's been forgotten." Mike stepped forward. "Well, Skyler, if you want it, you've got a place here. We could use someone like you." She paused. "I don't want a place," she said calmly. "I want the place. I want to lead, teach. I want to fix the culture in this shop. Mechanics don't listen anymore, they just replace. They don't feel the machine, they just scan it and guess." The crew didn't laugh. They didn't object. Because deep down, they knew she was right. Mike scratched his beard. "You want to run my garage, huh?" Skyler nodded. "Maybe not today, but one day. And until then, I want to learn everything. Officially, I want in." Mike looked at her for a long moment, then extended his grease-covered hand. "You got yourself a deal." Skyler shook it. The deal was real. 3 months later, the Mustang was now the pride of the shop. Its body restored, its heart renewed. And beneath its hood was a tiny plaque, "Reborn by Skyler Brooks, age 16. Skyler didn't stay in the shadows anymore. She led the diagnostics bay, taught senior techs how to troubleshoot beyond the surface, and even created a custom tool shelf called Sky's Tools, where she kept her innovations. Local news picked up the story. Teenage girl rebuilds muscle car and shocks Detroit garage. Skyler's name started circulating in tech circles. A startup even offered to buy her scanner design. She declined. "I'm not ready to sell, I'm still building," she said. Mike stepped aside from lead duties within 6 months and officially named her shop lead intern, a title no one had ever held before. But it wasn't the title that made her special. It was the respect she earned from every soul in that shop. She wasn't just the janitor's daughter anymore. She was Skyler Brooks, the girl who brought a Mustang back from the dead and taught a garage full of grown men that sometimes the smallest voice knows the most. And she was just getting started.